Hi everyone and welcome to my channel. My name is Elena and on my channel I talk about all things real estate, specifically right now in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. And in today's video, we are talking about all things pre-sale condos here in Puerto Vallarta area. I will share my thoughts on how you can find the best developers and real estate agents. We will talk about the best areas for your investment. We will discuss timelines. What should you expect when buying pre-construction condo? We will also talk about financing. How will you be financing your purchase? And at the very end, I will share my thoughts on who I think the pre-sale opportunities are a great investment option and those that they may not be so great for. So if you're interested in any of those topics, make sure to stick around to the end. Let's go, friends. How can you find the best realtor who can then recommend the best developer? In my experience, the best people were always recommended to me by my trusted friends. So referral would be amazing. If you don't have someone that you trust that had purchased a property in Puerto Vallarta area, what I would recommend is for you to join Facebook groups that are real estate focused, or not even necessarily real estate focused, just groups of people who are currently residing in the area that you are thinking of purchasing a property at. Become active, start asking questions, monitor it, and then you can go ahead and ask people in the group for a referral. And I am sure there'll be plenty that would be happy to share the names of their agents. And then what I would do is make a list of the agents and create questions that are most important to you and send them out. Ask for a face-to-face interaction. It could be via Zoom or FaceTime. Technology right now is incredible. So, and then shortlist the candidates and pick the one that you want to work with. I've personally gone through a similar process and now have two agents in particular that I work with here in Puerto Vallarta area. I'm working on meeting more people, and one thing I've got to mention, and that is just comes with the culture. In Mexico, things are just a little bit slower paced than they are in Vancouver, because that's where I'm from. So please be mindful of that when you're communicating with the agents and give them a little bit more time, because that's just simply the culture here. Once you found an agent to work with, I would ask them for recommendation of developers, and based on who they recommend, I would go ahead and do my own research. So in my experience, I was recommended a couple of great developers, and the questions that I asked were, how long have they been in business? How many other projects have they built? Can I have the names and the addresses of the projects? And then I would go and Google that information and see what I can find. And in most cases, what I found is a pretty solid online presence. So there would be information about the developments. There would be reviews. They would also be social media profiles. For example, one of the developers that I've considered purchasing with and actually purchased a property with, and I'm going to be sharing that experience in my future videos. But the developer that I found trustworthy had a great presence on social media. I did spend a lot of time snooping around and just trying to see what kind of person they are. And I think, might not be for everyone, but for me that was important. So a big tip is to go ahead and look up the information yourself, so then in the end you can form your own opinion of the developer and the development. And just to clarify, the solid presence of the developers was for those who were actually trustworthy and great. There were a number of developers that I looked up and there was very little information. Is that a cause for huge concern? I don't know. For me personally, I would like to see as much info out there, as much proof out there that the developers have done great work in the past as possible. Let's talk about the area for your purchase. Which area should you buy your property at? And in my opinion, the area should be determined by the use of your property. And what do I mean by that? Are you looking to purchase a strictly vacation home that you're not going to rent out and you're just going to enjoy yourself? Are you looking to purchase a retirement property that you are planning on moving to in 5 to 10 to 15 years? But in the meantime, you want to use it as an Airbnb cash flow potential? Or are you strictly buying an investment property and looking for cash flow potential option? And so based on the reason you're purchasing the property for, you're going to decide on the area and the building that you're going to choose. As an example, if I'm buying a property strictly for myself to vacation at, I'm going to look at the things that make me the most happy. Versus if I'm purchasing a property that I'm planning on renting out through Airbnb, I'm going to research and find the best suitable property for those that rank the highest on the Airbnb lists. Now that we covered the areas, let's talk about the timelines. When you purchase a pre-construction home, you are given an estimated date for completion. And I'm gonna laugh and say almost 99% of the time, the estimated date actually gets pushed back. That is unfortunately a common practice amongst developers because a lot of unexpected things may happen during construction. And for that reason, it is usually stipulated in the contract that the completion date can be pushed back. So make sure you look for that date, especially if you're aligning that date with either a move into the property, start of your Airbnb business, maybe your retirement. So be very mindful of the timelines and make sure you plan for some extra time before you get the key. And now we're getting to arguably the most asked question, actually second most asked question, I guess, because the first one is how often do the pre-sales don't get complete here? And that is financing. How can I finance my property if I am a Canadian resident or a US resident and I want to purchase in Mexico? And way number one to finance your property is to buy it straight up cash. And that is the most common way used here in Mexico. Well, you're gonna say, Elena, I don't have 500,000, 300,000, 200,000 lying around, so what are my other options? And option number two is to finance your property through a bank or a lender back home. Now, I'll be honest and I'll say that this is not an easy option to execute, and I personally wouldn't recommend it because in my experience, not a big percentage of people actually gets approved for that. And the reason for that, I think, is that Canadian or American lenders don't have control over what happens in Mexico. Well, I guess they don't have control over what happens in Canada or US either, but they don't like to lend the money to purchase properties outside of the country of the residence. Now, there is a way to go around that if you own a property in Canada or US and you've gained some equity, especially in the last year or so. We know property values have gone up by quite a lot, pretty much across the board. You could get a home equity line and then use the equity from your home to purchase a property in Mexico. And all I want to say about that is that if you choose to go that route, please make sure that you do your math and do not overextend yourself. So third way you can finance your property is through a Mexican bank. And if you are not a Mexican resident, and even if you are a Mexican resident, but you just recently received your residency, it is very unlikely for you to get approved for such a loan because if you're a new resident, your credit history is also pretty new. And the loans and qualifications for the loans are heavily dependent on your credit history. Another reason why getting a loan through a Mexican bank might not be the best idea is because the interest rates here in Mexico are much higher than what we are used to. So even if you were to get approved for a loan, you're probably not going to choose that option. Option number 4, and I was wrong at the beginning, there are going to be 5 options you can finance your property. So option number 4 is to get financing through the developer. And most of the developers will offer such an option, usually interest-free. And the way that it usually looks like is they will ask you for a down payment, anywhere between 10 to could be 50%. And then they will break down the remainder of the payment into the equal monthly payments until the construction is over. And the last 5th option that I am most proud of, because it took me some time to find, is a Mexican lender that bases their lending on Canadian and US credit history, which is a great option. I haven't heard anyone talk about it, and please do mention in the comments if you've heard of this, because it did take me some time to find. It is called Cross-Border Investing, and I'm going to link their information in the description below. I phoned them and spoke with them about the process. Please note that I did not use them for my purchase, but by the sounds of it, it's actually a very good option for someone who's looking for a more of a traditional mortgage product that we are used to in Canada and US. And I will briefly tell you what they've told me, but you can check all the information in the description below. You can give them a call and find out all of the details. And a quick summary for this mortgage option. For the term, they offer between 9 to 15 years. Fully amortized. The interest rates that I was given for the end of July 2021 were between 2.4 to 3.6, and the minimum credit score needed is 650. All of the rest of the information is linked below, so make sure to check it out. So now that we covered all of that, let me share who do I think the pre-sale condo purchase is a great option for. I think that pre-sale opportunity, if found at the right time, when you can take advantage of heavy pre-sale discounts that are usually given by the developers before they break ground, is a great investment for someone who is looking for a hands-off way to invest their money. And by hands off, I don't mean you don't need to do anything, but the research that you're doing is minimal comparing to purchasing a property that requires some sweat equity, renovation to bring the value of the property up, and so on. Pre-sale is a much better option for someone who wants to do the initial research, find the right area, park some money, and wait for the equity to grow, hopefully, by the time that the building is complete. And as much as we're hoping for the value of the unit to go up by the time the building is complete, that is not our #1 priority. For me personally, the #1 priority is the rent to value ratio that I can count on once the unit is complete. And essentially, if that rent to value ratio is around 1%, I am extremely happy. Just as a side note, in Vancouver currently, I don't think it's possible to get anywhere close to that. So for that reason, I'm exploring the markets here in Mexico area, and that's why I'm sharing this information with you, because I do see a great potential here. It is not for everyone. In my future videos, I will be covering the properties that need some sort of rehab work and opportunities that are available here. So if you're interested in that, please stay tuned. Make sure to watch for the upcoming videos, and let me know, what did you think of this video? Did you find it useful? Was the information helpful? Did I answer some of your questions? And if you have any more questions, please don't hesitate to leave the comments below. I appreciate you watching the video until the end. Thank you guys, and I'll see you in the next one.